Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. There is a case that we want to share, and it's an old case, a cold case, a closed case back in Colorado in Woodland Park. Justice for Mindy Lee, who was 33 at the time, a mother who died in Woodland Park suspiciously. Her mother, Viki White, has been fighting for justice for over 10 years. People have been talking about this case, and it stinks. Nancy Grace, Bobby Brown from Dog the Bounty Hunter has dove into this case, and the friends that she was with in the car, well, nobody can get the truth out of them. To this day, something happened to Mindy. Why did she suddenly jump out of a vehicle in the freezing cold with no coat, no shoes, no socks, wearing a black sweater of some kind and red pants, and ran and left her 4-year-old in the car? Now, they have spoken to the 4-year-old back then, and all she can come up with is, they wouldn't let my mommy out of the car. They wouldn't let her out of the car. And that's really all that she could say at that time that she remembers. She was only 4 years old. Now, what was going on in that car? Now, there's speculation, rumors that she was a drug user, a meth user, but there's no signs of a meth user. They say her teeth were good, her skin was good, her health was good, she wasn't skinny. You know, those little signs if you are a meth user. A little about Mindy. Like I said, she was 33 years old. She was a mother, and she had cancer. She was a cancer survivor. She went through many treatments and needles. She hated needles. And they say they are false, that she wasn't this drug user as they portray her to be. Now, the Woodland police, in a lot of people's opinions, it was an open and shut case. There wasn't too much investigation going on, and when there was, it seemed to have been messed up. Like one instance, when they told Viki, the mother of Mindy, they needed to talk to her, they didn't say, come on into the police station where it's nice and warm and private and we'll talk and we have something to show you. They took her to some store, some place where there's lots of people. There's no privacy, to tell her about her daughter's death and to show her a pair of tennis shoes that they believe were hers. And her mother said, they are not hers. because she wouldn't wear something like that. And they brought these tennis shoes and put them on the counter or on the table where they were talking. And they left them on the counter and didn't even take them with them. Now this could have been evidence. Well, because Viki said they wasn't hers means, well, hell no. Well, we'll just leave them there. Whose were they? Where did they come from? You know, mistakes like that. Mindy Lee, when she was discovered by the Woodland Park Police Department on December the 1st, 2010, Mindy had disappeared on Thursday, November the 26th. The circumstances of her death, how long it took for the police to locate her, as well as some missteps the police may have messed up. What really happened to Mindy? And here's what we know. It was a cold night in Colorado. Per friends who were in the vehicle with Mindy, they parked the vehicle and Mindy took off running. But I thought she jumped out of a moving vehicle. And when she took off running with no coat, no shoes, no socks, on a freezing cold night, she took off running into the woods. Who runs into the woods on a cold night with bushes and trees and brambles and all kinds of things that will get your feet messed up? Remember, she had no shoes and socks on. Now, he said he got out the car and took chase to chase her down, but it was dark and he lost her. He lost sight of her because she ran into the woods. She was wearing a lightweight clothes, a black top and red pants, and perhaps most disturbing, she left her 4-year-old daughter in the vehicle, and her mother said there's no way she would have done that. She wouldn't have left her. Why did she run? Friends supposedly notified the police that Mindy was missing around day 3. The cops used the search dogs to locate any traces of Mindy, and the dogs hit on an abandoned house. Yet the police never thoroughly searched the house. Why? This dog kept on going back to this abandoned house. They tried to get the dog to go to the field, but the dog kept on going back to this house at least 10 times. Now this is showing that Mindy must have been in that house at some point and moved to where her body was found. Because that football field, high school football field, was searched apparently. Searched. But she was never found in that search. 5 days later, her body was found. Because this, they decided to get a search party together and search the high school football ground, which had 6-foot fences around it. 6-foot fence. How did Mindy climb over that fence, and why would she, with no shoes on, climb over the fence and do whatever she was doing there, and then climb back over the fence and go to McDonald's, where she would be nice and warm and be able to call for help and get a hamburger or two, and then go back and climb back over the 6-foot fence and hide behind barrels and wood, where her body was later found 5 days later, frozen to death. Now, there's no sighting of Mindy surveillance at no McDonald's around that time. There's no surveillance. Who's lying and why? Now the friends are hiding something, and they need to start talking. I don't know what they were doing in that car, and they're her friends, so-called friends. Did they make this story up? Did something happen? Who was she really with? Now, we don't know how much involvement the police have in this. We don't know. But something's fishy. Something's not right, and somebody's not telling the truth. For whatever reason. Was there a cop involved in this? A dirty cop? Maybe a cop that is killed before? Because that does happen, guys. That does happen. This is just theories and opinions of what could have happened, and talks and rumors going around. She was found by a school officer, a school police officer. But the same area she was found had already been searched by Woodland Police Department, and nobody found her body. Did nobody move anything to see if somebody would be behind some barrows, covered in grass, covered in snow? If you're searching somewhere, you must search everywhere. And the police didn't find her. When Mindy was discovered, she had 2 55-gallon tubs on her, around her, and she moved them herself and covered herself up. Remember, Mindy had no socks and shoes on when she ran towards the woods, yet she had no abrasions, scratches, rocks or thorn marks on her bare feet. How did that happen? For what she was supposedly had done and was meant to have done, because there's no way she could have got over into this high school football field without climbing over a 6-foot fence. And you know, guys, that's hard to do at the best of times. That's hard to do if you don't know how to climb fences. let alone do it with no shoes on in the freezing cold weather. The police claim Mindy had a drug addiction and died of hypothermia. And that was it. The Woodland Park police initially ruled Mindy's death was a suicide. A suicide. There were 4 different death certificates issued for Mindy, and nobody could decide what she died of. Even the autopsy, the coroner. What some bull? How could they possibly be so confused of what the cause of death was? They didn't even take her DNA from her fingernails. There's a lot they didn't do to preserve evidence for later when it comes available for testing. The Teller County, Colorado DA will not reopen Mindy's case. Now, there is a petition, and I will link the petition, that Mindy's mother is trying to reopen the case and hash it out, because this suspicion is still lingering. And how can you have 4 different death certificates? So Mindy's mother, Viki White, would like you to share her story, her daughter's story, and I'm going to put up some tapes that she has released, that she made some time ago, that she did record her interviews with an assistant to the coroner, some kind of assistant, and other people that she talked to in authority, and she recorded it for future reference. She was trying to get information, build a case, and she would like you to come over to this petition and sign it to get justice and answers for Mindy and her family and her daughter. So please go over there and sign it. Join us in the fight for justice. Back on January the 12th, 2011, the Woodland Park Police were still investigating the case surrounding the death of Mindy Lee, who apparently froze to death after jumping out of the vehicle in late November near Woodland Park High School. Now we'll just go through it, that she was discovered on December the 1st in the football field. Following 5 days later, she died from hypothermia, and that is what the Teller County Coroner's Office said also. But her death raised many questions, especially the circumstances regarding why Lee suddenly exited the vehicle in the presence of her 4-year-old and her 2 friends. According to Woodland Park Police Chief Bob Larson, authorities still want to examine more information before finalizing the investigation. And this was back in 2011. The missing pieces include more details about her cell phone, her mobile phone records, and other aspects of the case being handled by Colorado Bureau of Investigations. But officials have concluded that Lee suffered from an acute methylene intoxication. So she had a lot of meth in her system. The toxicology report said so. And they said this may have affected her thinking. You know, people that are on meth do weird things. They climb poles and everything. They do strange things. But I don't know how long this affects your mind for. Is it an hour? Is it 2? Is it 3? And at the time, the police chief declined to speculate on how this could impact her decision to exit the vehicle. And you're traveling at night, and how she could just quickly disappear into the woods. Toxicology reports discovered the presence of meth, oxycodone, and Wellbutrin in her system around the time of her death. So she was found 5 days later, and she had this in her system. But how long was she dead for? How long would that stay in her system before she died? But the thing is, she was frozen. She was frozen, and they had to thaw her body out. So it doesn't take long for your body to freeze, does it? But why would she hide? Why would she run and hide for hours? Especially when the police and ambulances or whatever were searching for her were around the area, and she didn't come out of the woods. Was she hallucinating? Was she afraid of someone? Did somebody give her something they shouldn't have? And, well, they're just saying it's the meth that made her, that could have made her do this. Could have. They're not even sure. They're just speculating because these drugs were found in her system. That doesn't mean something else may have happened to her. But out of these drugs, they said the only substance that digested, and it was meth. The quantity. And according to Larson, the chief, Lee, Mindy Lee did have a prescription for Wellbutrin, and she had an antidepressant, oxycodone, and a narcotic, which is a painkiller. And meth is a well-known psycho substance. Yeah. It's a stimulant, and it's not good for you. And why would she be doing meth? Like I said, did she just try it? Did she just try it and it didn't agree with her. It sent her crazy. Do you know, and do crazy stuff. They said that they tried to take her to the hospital. So something was going on in that car where they needed to take her to the hospital. So something, well, like her daughter said, they wouldn't let her mom out of the car. Yet they were saying they were trying to take her to the hospital. What do you mean you were trying to take her to the hospital? But they said they took her to the hospital. Why isn't she in the hospital then? So they tried, or they got her to the hospital. Which one is it? And they said they tried to attempted to get her examined at the Pikes Peak Regional Hospital there. And that's just outside Woodland Park. But they said that Mindy was suffering from laryngitis at the time and didn't want to be treated. Well, wait a minute. Your friend is acting all strange and you want her in the hospital and you tried to get her treated, but there's no surveillance. There's nothing in there to say they ever talked to a doctor, a nurse, no surveillance, no nothing. So they didn't even take her to the hospital. So who's lying? Who's lying? The hospital or her two friends in the car? And for the length of time it took the officials to find her body. I mean, the police initially received a report via a phone call. The friends that she was with that tried to chase her that evening when she jumped out of the vehicle but couldn't find her because it was dark. And it may have been dark because there's not much lighting, because this is Woodland Park. It's a wooded area. There's trails and there's parks and there's no lighting. It's rural. And there's a lot of wildlife around there. And this case, still today, is baffling authorities. Well, maybe not the authorities, because it's a kind of a closed case for them. A cold case. And they have no more leads. And the autopsy was done. The 4 certificates, death certificates, were handed out. 4 different ones. And there's no new leads. Now, there's a few people on this case that are trying to reopen the case. I mean, like I said, Nancy Grace did a special on this, a podcast. And Bobby Brown, the guy that worked for Dog the Bounty Hunter, or was on several of his shows, is on the case. And he said that she did not just freeze to death. Now, she was in that house at some point because the dogs hid it. they hit on it. But that home was never searched. Now why? What's the point of taking dogs out to search for a human being and you don't search what the dog's hitting on? Well, you might as well left the dog at home. Yes, you might as well not have bothered and wasted police resources and money. Now that's dumb, in my opinion. Now that's one big mistake, because you know why? Because Mindy may have been in that home alive, but she didn't know what to do. She didn't know what to do because she may have been given something that messed her up, that she didn't willingly take. That could be the case too. She could have also been dragged into the house against her will. But they say there's no signs of foul play. In fact, like I said, there's not even marks at the bottom of her feet. Meaning, you know, scratched up marks and filthy and abrasions, because apparently she had walked all over and climbed fences and went into the bushes, walked to McDonald's and back and climbed over the fence. She would have had, her feet would have been torn up. And there's no sign of foul play? Well, with no marks on your bottom of your feet, it looks like she may have not walked anywhere. She may not have walked anywhere. They may have carried her into the house and hid her there for a little while and then moved her to the playing fields. And her body was hid there. Hid. She didn't do it herself. So how did she get there? Now this is why this is a big mystery. And this needs to be looked into. And her two friends need to come forward and tell the truth. Did she overdose and you hid her body? You need to come clean, because it sounds like that's probably what happened. That is quite possibly what did happen. And you came up with the rest of the story, that she ran off. And so that's why we need your help, guys. We need you to share her story. Let's talk about it. Let's try to push for this case to be reopened. Let's try to encourage her two friends to come forward to anybody. Talk to Bobby Brown. Call him up and talk to him in private, and he will help you. He will help you. You can trust him. Now, Dadwith aphone is doing this story. He's had Mindy's mother, Viki White, and she has been talking to him several times, confiding in him and coming on live to his shows. And we are going to try to help the mother come to some kind of closure on this. She wants closure. She wants the truth told. in her daughter's name. She wants to have Mindy, rest in peace, but right now it's all questionable, and it hasn't been answered, and it hasn't been answered for a long time, over 10 years. It hasn't been solved. There's too much inconsistencies with their stories of what really happened that evening with her friends, and their story, and what happened with the autopsy, what they did, what they didn't do, what they were meant to do, evidence, maybe evidence tampering. Where is the evidence? It seems like they didn't take no evidence seriously. Now, Mindy's mother has recorded stuff from when she spoke to people. Take a listen to it, and just listen to it, and let's share her story. Let's help share her story, and let's try to get someone to listen. At least listen. And even if there's a lawyer out there that could help her with this case, see where she stands, listen to her testimony, listen to her evidence, listen to her story, and see if there's any way you can help her for free. To donate your time to this cause, because it has not been solved, and it's still a mystery, and they are not 100% sure what happened. And find a way to help Viki White, Mindy Lee's mother, to get justice for her daughter Mindy Lee and her child. And thank you guys for stopping by, and I'll leave the links below. You can go over to Dadwith aphone and listen to the tapes, but I will put the tapes on my video. But you can listen to her story. Dadwith aphone is on Facebook. You can go into his Facebook group and listen to the conversations that we're having about this case, and let's try our best to see if we can help, to see what we can do to get some closure to this, to get some more answers and put some more pieces together. Mindy's mother did say that she did get a phone call from her daughter, and all she could make out was "Mom, Mom," kind of like that. So we don't know if Mindy was dying at that time, or she couldn't talk properly, but she was able to call her mother, but wasn't able to say other than "Mom, Mom." That's all she could get out. And that was the last time she heard her daughter talk. Was she trying to get help, but she didn't know where she was? Or did somebody take the phone away from her and that's all she could get out? We just don't know. But this case, it just baffles me to think that in this day and age, even 10 years ago, that you could just boom, because you find drugs on her, she automatically killed herself, suicide, she's a drug user. That might not have happened at all, because she has no marks on her body to to say she was running through any wooded area. She got no scratches or nothing. Well, she had pants on, so she might not. But where's the twigs that stick to your hair? Do you know, where's all this wooded stuff that would be on her clothes, in her hair, all the marks on her feet, scratched up, abrasions? Where are all those? No, because she never ran. She was carried. And that's just my opinion, guys. And thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to like my channel and sub and press that notification bell so you can be notified on future events. And please share her story. It can't do any harm. It will only help with the search for justice for Mindy Lee.
Because I know, how do you pronounce your name? Vida? Vida from CARE and Bobby Brown investigation. I don't know if he came up too. Yeah, and she's the one that actually said, if you have any, questions, to call her. Because, I seriously do have questions, okay? And my whole thing is, I don't know if the police, because the last thing my daughter said to me right before she went missing, she made a phone call going, I couldn't understand her. Yeah. And I said, Mindy, I can't hear you. I can't understand you. Yeah. And Kim grabbed the phone and said she was sick and going to take her to the hospital. And then she also made a call to her 14-year-old. And it was the guy, Shannon, grabbed the phone and said, they're taking Mindy to the hospital. Her phone has never been found. Okay? Her cell phone. I, myself, after talking with, Kim has a call from the local justice, I never, ever heard from those people, even picking up Mindy's car, getting her keys to the car, from those two again. The shoes they presented to the police that night were not Mindy's shoes. I know my daughter's clothes. The wallet was not my daughter's, they presented. Her real purse was in the car up at their house. Her shoes, naturally, her real purse. The phone's never been found. And there's just so many really peculiar things. And everything's crazy. And then my one question is, did you remove the jewelry off my daughter's neck? Or did Pearl?
I did not. Usually.
Because you know what's really odd? When I got the jewelry back, from my sister-in-law went up and Penny actually gave it to my sister-in-law. And it's in the bag, and I was going to put it on her for the funeral home.
Yeah.
And her necklace was so twisted, and it's a serpentine type thing. And Bobby and Steven looked at it, and there's a picture of it, and they held it up. And if you, let's say you take a hand, it looks the shape like it was twisted around her neck. And I said, there's no way my daughter would wear a piece of jewelry like this, because all her life she's had wonderful, beautiful jewelry.
So that wasn't hers?
It was her necklace, but it was twisted like it was used to choke her. It wasn't laying like it should when it was all bent. And like somebody grabbed it.
She had the necklace on.
Yes, she did.
When I saw her, I didn't take it off.
But nobody noticed that it was.
I usually don't comment. I just say the jewelry's there. I'm just documenting
that it was there.
I might have a picture here that I can look and see if when she comes in the door, if it's bent. Because we take pictures right when they come.
Because it was all twisted, what I received.
December.
And they Bobby and Steve have it from evidence. and if you hold it up by the chain, and you take your hand and you do not move it, you just do the motion, it looks exactly if somebody twisted it.
The pictures I have show the chain, but I can't tell. It looks straight to me, so it's probably the part behind, like it's in the behind her neck.
Oh, maybe trying to catch her. I don't know if she did try to run.
It looks like when I see it, when we have it, the clasp is actually in the front.
And where it's bent is in the back.
Okay, so that's why I can't
see. If the clasp is in the front, so the front is in the back of her. And what? Okay, that is odd because they do have it, and if you look at it, I don't. But you're not a detective.
Was here, he showed me the necklace, and he had mentioned that. Yeah.
Okay.
That's not really my job.
No, that's a police thing. But I'm just saying, I don't know what they made you aware of. Were you aware that my daughter had called and the phone was taken from her?
I have no idea about that.
No, see? And I'm telling you, Christine Helton, that worked at Manitou Inn, her boyfriend owns a Manitou Inn. Okay. They were searching for my daughter, both Paul's, her daughter, and her, separate from us. Yeah. They were right where my daughter was found.
Yeah, Bobby told me that when he was here.
And they were again by my house last night. And I said to Haley, I said, because Mindy had the red pants on, the black top, and you were right next, Mommy, and you were, right next to the red fence. Mm-hmm. And she said, no. In fact, she said, when we were going down that road, I saw something red, but it was a reddish color rock. And Mommy and Paul got out, and it was an actual rock. But we were next to the fence line where the blue barrels are. Yeah. And in the report, whatever they told you, did they bring you and show you the pictures how they found her?
I did, yeah. I saw pictures of how they found her. I didn't see the police's pictures. I saw Dr. Burns' pictures. The problem with this, usually what happens is the cops show up first, then they start dicking with stuff, and then they call Dr. Byrne, and then Dr. Byrne comes in. So his pictures are taken after everybody's trampled over everything and moved stuff, and those are the pictures I originally saw. When Bobby came back, probably a month ago now, he showed me the original police pictures from when they first showed up, and that was the first time I had seen them.
And see, I think this is your report or Dr. Byrne. Is this your report here, the corners? Is this actually this one here? Is that actually?
That's me, yeah.
Okay.
That's me.
All right, because it says she was huddled. And the pictures they showed my husband when they found her, she was flat on her back, one leg is up, and one leg down, and supposedly she was frozen solid. And she had to be thawed out for 4 days. But according to this Goings, he found her, she's sitting up leaning against the building.
Yeah, I saw pictures. I saw both pictures. I saw pictures of her sitting up, leaning against the barrel, kind of leaning this way, but still up. And then the pictures that I saw after they moved everything, she is laying all the way down on the ground. So I'm guessing what happens is they move the barrels and then she kind of falls over, or as they're moving her, they lay her down to try to get her out of there. But I've seen both pictures of her both sitting up and...
But if she was frozen, how could she be laying on her back?
Well, she's not. I think originally she's sitting up, leaning to her left.
Okay.
And her head is kind of to the left, and her face is kind of down this way, but she's sitting up.
Okay.
And then you can tell in other pictures they've moved the barrels, and then she's all the way on the ground.
So they moved the barrels probably before got there, because you know what I'm going to tell you, and that Jennifer, of course, no, we didn't, but she did tell me that she said they moved Mindy to keep her out of view from people. Well, that's crazy because she's out there on a football field. Yeah. But Christina was with a news station. This is what I was going to tell you, across the way, because they wouldn't let anybody go up the access road where the condos were. And the news thing let her look through this lens. And she said that, I'm telling you right now, her body was not there. We were here Sunday, and then Jay wasn't exactly sure. Then we're all shook up. But Brandon and other people that searched for her did go there, and her body wasn't there. But is she consistent with the way she was found, the way her blood velocity?
Yeah, everything. The pictures I saw where she's sort of sitting up but leaning to the left and her head's turned. That position is totally consistent with what I have. The lividity patterns and everything. when you look at the pictures later after she's laid down, no, they're not. But the original ones where she's sitting up, and in fact, she's turned to the left and her head's down, and there's an indentation on her chin that's pale that shows that's where her chin was touching the barrel.
Okay.
And then there's actually purge fluid, or it's the fluid that comes out of the lungs after you die, and it's frozen to her face, and it's dripping in such a way it's actually like little icicles that are coming off in the exact position that she's found. You know what I mean? Like it's totally consistent. So I'm not at all worried about that. And in fact, the morbidity pattern is the redness of the skin. It's pale in areas that are consistent with her in that kind of squatting position where the one leg was out, the other leg was kind of up.
Okay.
So that, at the time of the autopsy, that was my first thing. Is it look like this is consistent with the position, or was she died someplace else and then dumped here? And you really couldn't have asked for a better lividity pattern and then the frozen water and all that to match exactly how she was sitting. So there's no doubt in my mind that she dies either in that spot or within a few minutes to a half an hour or so before she ends up there. There's no way for me to know
when she died.
If you died right now and I let it 30 minutes and I went and set you up in that exact same position, you're going to look the same as if you died in that chair or you died out there. To me, that's the investigation's job. I can't do anything about that.
It's possible she died somewhere in the same position, and they put her.
She couldn't have died in the same position. It takes a little bit of time for that lividity to develop. And so, you have about 30 minutes, to a couple hours, depending on the temperature and things like that, before you start stiffening up, and then it becomes a little bit more difficult to stage it to look like that. So I'm saying, in all likelihood, she died in that position right there. However, just based on the science, I can't say for sure she didn't die someplace else 30 minutes before and then was dumped there. I can't say that.
Yeah.
But I don't have any other evidence
and
that she was drugged.
Nail scrapings because you didn't think there's...
No, there was no trauma to her nails. There really was no trauma to her at all. And nail scrapings wouldn't tell you anything.
Like if she was fighting somebody.
No, it wouldn't tell me. Nail scrapings, all that does is tell you the people that she had contact with. And we know she's had contact with them. They admitted to it.
Yeah.
But if you go and you shake somebody's hand, now they have their DNA under your So if you just randomly scrape everyone's DNA, that information doesn't tell you anything. Now, had they said, I've never seen the lady, I haven't been around in weeks, then if we did the nail scraping, then that would have told us that they were lying. But at the end of the day, I don't have a cause of death that's traumatic. You know what I mean? She wasn't strangled, she wasn't beaten, she wasn't smothered, she wasn't shot or stabbed or any of those other things. I don't have a reason for her to be dead other than large amounts of drugs on her.
Okay.
And being found outside in the cold.
Okay, so being outside. And then it said here about, so you tested what came out of her vagina?
Yes.
And was that bag open so it leaked?
It was a little Ziploc bag. It was maybe about this big.
Okay.
And it had a little zip thing at the top. It was a clear Ziploc bag. There was moisture inside the bag. You know when you have like a Ziploc bag and there's like you pull some chicken out and you can see the thin film of liquid inside. I could see that there was liquid, a small thin amount of liquid, in addition to the crystals that were inside.
But it didn't leak out.
I don't know. That's the problem. I don't know if the crystals are still there, so they didn't dissolve totally. But I don't know if that moisture was in the bag already, or is that moisture from her vaginal canal because it's got a very microscopic hole in the bag that's leaking back up into it. There's no way for me to know that. So it could have been totally contained, or it could have been leaking. And if it's leaking, it's reasonable that the drugs on any mucosa. It's like snorting cocaine. Cocaine doesn't care if you're snorting it or sticking it up your rectum.
Now, see, I don't know anything about levels and the toxicology. It says 840 whatever. That's a very lethal amount, according.
Methamphetamines, any amount is potentially lethal. Okay, so if you use methamphetamine every day for a year, and you use the same amount, you smoke the same amount, it may not kill you any of those days. But the 366th day you use that same amount, it could kill you. And so the same amount that may kill me is not going to kill you, and it may not kill me today, but it could kill me next week. So you can't look at the number and say, well, is that a lot or is that a little? Is that lethal? Is it not lethal? Any amount can kill you. that is a significant amount, but that doesn't really mean anything.
Because I was going to say, because she had gained a lot of weight in the last year.
Yeah.
And her teeth, well, I don't know, you probably didn't look at her, they're in perfect, beautiful teeth.
Yeah.
More people that are meth people.
Yeah, she clearly is not someone, two things you mentioned, her teeth look good, and she wasn't, we also know the meth heads who are anorexic. I don't believe that that your daughter is like smoking meth every day, is like a chronic meth head, because she didn't have the appearance of it.
And wouldn't you tell by her organs when somebody's a drinker, their liver's bad? Yeah,
their liver's bad. Methamphetamine's not really. There's no telltale sign in the organs that's going to tell you that someone uses it a lot or uses it very little. It doesn't work like that. It's kind of cocaine. You go your whole life and not know someone's a cokehead.
Okay.
But, if the drugs are there, the drugs are there.
Yeah, don't know. But they said there's a needle mark here.
Yeah, she had a needle mark, a little puncture mark, I think in her left eye.
Yeah, that's what it said.
Yeah.
And that is so odd that I've never known her, because she had cancer as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And did you see a lot of those lesions all over her body?
Yes, I did.
That was from cancer.
Okay.
And she went through about 3 years of cancer laser removal.
Yeah.
And she did not like needles. My daughter never smoked. She wouldn't even allow somebody to smoke, like in her apartment or car, anything.
Yeah.
She was not a smoker.
Yeah.
And so if she was doing meth, she wouldn't be smoking. I'll tell you that right now. She doesn't smoke. But I'm sure there's other ways.
Yeah, there's
if she was using meth hypodermically, wouldn't she have scars? Because I've seen people that
that's kind of more the old, back in the 70s when people used heroin all the time. You'd see all those scars. Someone who would be a casual user, maybe only a couple times, you're not going to see scars. I mean, all of us have been to the hospital and had our blood drawn.
Yeah, sure.
All of us.
And,
and you may find a little bitty one you remember, but I've given blood dozens of times and my arms aren't covered in scars.
Yeah.
And so it's not unreasonable that
to do that.
That her arms would look normal. I would expect that. Had she been a chronic, doped out tweaker, smoking, shooting meth for the last 2 years, I would expect it. But that's not your daughter.
No.
From what I see and what you told me.
No, and she didn't have money, and all of her jewelry is accounted for.
Yeah.
Usually meth heads would sell anything. Any like TVs, stereo, everything's accounted for in her house. And they searched her house and her car and did not find any drug paraphernalia.
Yeah.
Not on her purse, not in her car, and not in her house.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so much of this is puzzling me.
Yeah.
If somebody could say, "Oh yeah, she is a meth head or something," because I'm going, that's not Mindy. It's not Mindy. It doesn't seem right, and it's just peculiar to me. These people who didn't want to talk to the police, the news media, not to me. I go to get the keys to her car, and they send the mother upstairs with them. The mother doesn't know anything going on. The mother's like in her 60s.
Yeah.
Now, if you're living in your mother's home, you and your boyfriend, and somebody comes to visit you Thanksgiving night, their car's outside, the mother doesn't know anything. I mean, when were you going to tell the mother this person's missing and her car's out there? And then when Jay and I come, and her daughter, my granddaughter, we come to retrieve the keys, because we really believe that at that beginning of the night before, I believe they took her. But then Saturday morning, when things weren't going right up at that house, and they don't come out of the basement, when I'm either thinking something went very wrong up in that house, I don't know, they gave her a hot shot or something like that. I know that she was very jealous of her boyfriend, not Mindy, but Kim's jealous of her boyfriend. I don't know, the boyfriend came on to, I'm just trying to put stuff. What is going on here? They don't come out.
If you're just joining, we're listening to the never before listened to tapes that Mindy Lee's mother made in secret. This guy didn't know he was being recorded. So you'll have to go back and catch up. This guy works at the medical examiner's office. He's not the doctor or the medical examiner. He works for the medical examiner. I'm not exactly like what he falls into, but you're learning.
And if you're such wonderful friends, and I've seen Kim 3 years, when you say, oh my God, let me show you where she jumped out to her parents and her daughter, let's
you think it was your friend, you'd be doing everything
to help find her. And then when I went to the hospital, they had no record of her being there, according to their story. There's no record. And then they said, because they told the police that, and that's when everything just went loose. Saturday morning, getting the flyers done, and I went to the media to help try to find my daughter. And I just had all these questions about her, and that's why, with you being a coroner, and then I thought the other coroner did it, but I guess he hasn't been practicing for like 20 years.
He's elected. He's just elected. He's not a forensic pathologist. He doesn't have the ability to do the autopsies and determine cause of death. Basically, what he does is decides who should get autopsied and he sends them to us, and we do it, and then we tell them.
And then we got 3 different death certificates. You know that.
So what happens is we had to wait for the tox, and so initially the death certificate just probably said pending, and they probably didn't say.
No, it had stuff. He had other stuff on there. I said, where did you get this information? I said to Earl.
He put stuff on it?
Yeah. And he said, from you. I said, from me? And I said, well, why would you take my word? I didn't say that.
Yeah.
And it said, history of drug abuse and all this crazy stuff. And I go, from me? And so then he changed it again. And then when your report came back, now he just has hypothermia on it.
Yeah.
Then with the cause of could contribute is the other drugs. Now, the other drugs you found, she was prescribed those.
Yeah, none of those were drugs of abuse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are normal. Well, it's caffeine and oxycodone. I don't know what she was on oxycodone.
Because when they found, and which I know you didn't find it, but she had a cyst in her brain. They put her on medicine to dissolve the cyst.
Yeah.
And the pain was so bad, she kept throwing up in the hospital. So they gave her oxycodone. She was really, really bad. And it was probably a year ago this time. She was in and out of the hospital. They did first, it's a CAT scan, and they saw it. And then I do have the report of the MRI when she went back in the hospital. So they prescribed her the oxycodone when the pain would get bad in her head. And you could see it's not a lot of it.
No,
and she had a bad
levels.
Okay. And then the Wellbutrin was when she was depressed and lost her job.
No, there wasn't very much of that.
And I took her to see them. And then I think
Valproisin
is like a sleeping. Well, no, the doctor gave me that after Mindy was dead. But I think her doctor put her on that because when she would get upset.
There's not very much of that.
So that's what she was on.
Yeah. And prescribed large amounts of methamphetamine. And what happens is methamphetamine is the parent drug. That's the drug you use.
Yeah.
And then that drug is metabolized into amphetamine. It's a breakdown product. Her methamphetamine is really high and amphetamine is really low, which would suggest that it's an acute ingestion. So that fits the story that this lady isn't someone who's chronically abusing that every single day. This is I don't know. I can't say it's a one-time thing, but it's an acute use of the drug, not someone who's chronically burned down on it all the time.
Okay. Yeah, because that's why I wanted to talk with you, because I didn't understand and how it. And you're not a Houdini or something that you can visually see how it got into her system.
No.
And if you think, and then I was thinking, was that injection in her site from blood work that she could have had?
It was fresh. There was blood around it. And so usually within a few hours of getting, a few hours to a day of getting blood work, it usually goes away.
Yeah, because I was trying to think. I knew she had a doctor's appointment before Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay.
That would have been maybe Wednesday. I don't know. Could have been the Wednesday before.
A long time.
Yeah, that would be. So I was trying to think that, and then I was thinking, did somebody just inject her to get rid of her? I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard, and that always is something that I think about with cases. And the only clues I have would be, a healthy person would defend themselves. They may not successfully defend themselves, but they would attempt to defend themselves. And so to hold someone down and then delicately inject a needle into their arm, they would either have to be out of it, meaning intoxicated or drugged, which we don't have any evidence of any additional drugs. Drunk, which I don't think there was
no alcohol. There's no alcohol.
Or physically restrained. Well, during physical restraint, there's injury. There's bruises around the wrist. There's bruises on the face as you're being held down, as you're fighting, kicking. I'm sure your daughter would not have gone easily if someone attacked her, held her down, and tried to inject her. I didn't have any evidence of that.
Did you see the evidence where Shannon said he was grabbing her and chasing her and tackled her? And
no, let me see if she has. I don't remember her having really much of anything as far as bruising.
There's a lot of creators texting me and messaging me, and I even saw someone throw something up in chat about, can we copy this and listen to it? You can copy this. You can just dang it. You can copy, you can cut it up, share it. Just try to get Mindy's name out there. We're trying to reopen this case. So, yeah, cut it up, chop it up, share it. We're just trying to get Mindy's name out there. Open the case back up.
Yeah. Wasn't there a lot of bruises?
She does have some. Let's see what she's got.
And the other thing is, if she, because of her feet, because I said, I don't care if people can think I'm crazy the day they found her body. It was the next morning I called the coroner up there, and I said, please check the bottom of her feet. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I heard Mindy say it. I'm dreaming it during the night. Check the bottom of her feet. That terrain that they said she ran from is, I took pictures of it. It's tremendous. Yeah. The gullies, the branches, the sticks. You would have something on the bottom of your feet.
Yeah, and she did. She did have dirt, and she did have some abrasions or scratches on the bottom of her feet. And then she's got a lot of scratches on the fronts of her feet and on the fronts of her legs. I mean, and as she's clearly moving through the dry shrubs and brush and stuff, you can see it scratching. And her pants, from basically knees down, are covered in burrs and stuff.
Okay, but are there snags to her pants?
Yeah, she's got a bunch of snags of the little the burrs and everything, and some of them are poking through the clothes. And because the pants she had weren't very thick, they were pretty thin.
Right. And they weren't her clothes, but we'll see how they.
Yeah. And so then she had all the burrs, and then she had all the scratches on her pants, and they were all moving front to back. So if you're dragging someone along the ground, the scratches go from the knee down. Whereas if you're walking yourself and there are twigs and stuff, it scratches from front to back. And all of hers were from front to back. She had nothing that was consistent with being drugged.
Oh, good.
So she didn't. The only way you get her to that spot is basically to pick her up and carry her. And I know there's been a lot of discussion about how she got in there because at some point someone said it was locked, and then another person said maybe it wasn't locked, and all these things.
But you can't squeeze through there.
And so the only way you get her in there is basically to pick her up over your head and attempt to throw her over the top of the fence, which didn't happen. So
either
I don't know how she got in there, but either somebody unlocked it and they carried her in and set her gently down, or she got in there herself somehow. I don't know. Once again,
she's not athletic, I'll tell you that. Okay, and it's very tall, and the barbed wire goes out
this
way.
No way you get thrown in the middle.
And she wouldn't be able to go over without cutting her hands and without shoes. And she had no shoes.
Yeah. So that's another part that to me is really bothersome, is how did she get in there? Either she did squeeze through there somehow, or someone's lying and that gate was left open or unlocked, and now someone's trying to cover it. Or, somebody put her in there. But she's not drugged. She had to have been carried and placed there.
And they saw the footprints, you know that.
Yeah, they told me that.
Yeah, there's footprints, 2 sets of them.
Yeah.
That would be possible. And then
But
somebody.
that was in the snow, right? And so we know she was there before it snowed because the snow was all on top of her. So footprints in the snow wouldn't really tell you anything, right? Because the footprints had to
And some were covered. Yeah, but some were covered, they said. Covered up. I don't know. It was not snowing the night she was missing.
Yeah, it wasn't snowing the night she went missing.
It went snowing Sunday night because Lori, or whatever her name was, from a radio station, she just left up there, and I was at the house, and she said, Viki, it's starting to snow. And that was Sunday night. And
Was
my
she
heart
missing
goes
what
out
night?
to Friday night. And it didn't snow until Sunday night.
And that's what I told Bobby when he was here. I can't tell. I can't tell you what happened from the time she goes missing to the time she's found. And you guys are telling me we went by there and she wasn't there. It's certainly possible she wasn't dead then. You know what I mean?
But where was she?
I have no idea. But how am I supposed to know?
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think in my head. Everybody's looking for this woman with red pants on and a black top.
No shoes,
no coat. She couldn't survive. She would have to be somebody would have to come forward and say, she broke in my house. She was laying on my couch.
Yeah.
Nobody. So I'm thinking, where was she? Are people clever enough to say, okay, she died like this, so we're going to carry her. We're going to place her just how she died, just like how she died.
We know she has to be there as of Sunday because the snow's all on top of her. So I can't tell you what happened between when she leaves that car and when she goes. Only thing I can tell you is I don't have another reason for her to be dead. You can't just kill somebody and not have evidence of how you did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's all.
So it's not. She wasn't injured traumatically in such a way that you could kill her. She either froze to death or she died of the drugs. I don't know how the drugs got in her system. You know what I mean? All I can do is do my best to try to figure out how it ended up the way that it did. I don't have evidence. I have superficial linear abrasions that are consistent with her walking or her, she had a couple scuffs on her knees, which would be consistent with if she fell and tripped while she was doing this, or like you were saying, if he attacked her and she was tackled. I don't have anything as far as defensive injuries, which would be big, large bruises or things on the backs of the hands like you were defending yourself. I don't have any trauma to the face. Okay. I don't have any trauma to the mouth, the eyes, the neck, any of the internal organs, everything. Otherwise, she was a healthy, normal lady. So you can't just kill someone violently and not show any evidence of it. You can't do it.
Or my other theory is, because I know these people deal drugs. Yeah. Okay, I know. Okay. And if you do their records, they've all been in trouble for the same thing. Yeah. And the other question, the only thing I had to say about that, either, like you said, she wasn't a user, she was with them, they were partying, they OD'd her and got scared and got rid of her.
That would be my, either,
and they didn't want to be connected.
Yeah, either the story's true and she runs off, which is a goofy story, but people on the drugs do goofy things.
They do goofy things.
Or exactly what you just said. Those are the two possibilities. But there's nothing I'm going to do.
No, I know that. No, I was just trying to see if you could see.
We have lots of drug dumps a year, and that's exactly what happens. Everyone's partying, having a good time. Somebody overdoses, and all of a sudden, what was supposed to be your best friend in the world, somebody doesn't give a shit about you. All they care about is themselves, distancing themselves from you so that they don't get in trouble.
And then,
they'll let you die in the damn street before they'll have risk falling and getting in trouble.
Did you do that Levi that was found up there on Gold Camp Road? He was wrapped in a rug.
No, I didn't do that one.
The one that was dumped on Gold Camp Road.
No, I didn't do that
one.
There's so many.
No. I'm just saying because those people.
Oh, I know what you guys are talking about. Yeah, that was methamphetamine too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And they threw him off of a cliff or something, and get caught in a tree or something like that, or they wrapped him up in something.
In a rug. And Mindy told me about this.
Yeah.
Those people. Mm. And Kim was afraid about that, and I said, if I were you, I'd stay away, Mindy. And Kim needs to go to the police because of her boyfriend. And then I thought that could be the very reason they got rid of Mindy, because she might have told Shannon that she told Mindy what happened to that. Levi starts, it's a Spanish last name, and I would not know about this. Mindy told me this right before this happened about Kim knowing about. That's why I said, do you know about that? And he was naked. It was to do with methamphetamine, and he bought the meth with a counterfeit $100 bill, and that's why they did that. I'm just, so I'm not crazy.
No,
I'm just
we do a lot of these every year, this exact same thing.
And Mindy told me about that, and she said Kim was afraid, and I said, well, Kim needs to go to the police, and you need to stay away from those people.
Yeah.
But that's why I thought, let me talk to you, because you are the real coroner instead of Mr. Burns. And I mean, he means well and everything.
He does, he's a nice guy.
He's a nice old guy and everything. But he was telling me some stuff, and it didn't match up to, like, the police would tell me certain things, but they can't keep them straight either. I mean, it's like really crazy. Yeah. And then he would tell me stuff. And then when Bobby and Steve finally got the pictures and they ran them all, and they were concerned. Yeah. Some of the things weren't matching up for what the police saw. Yeah. And I think if she would have died here in El Paso, it would have been a different story than Woodland Park. Yeah. Because if you would see these police reports, I see more detail out of an auto accident. It's a joke. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. And I'm like, the only one that I feel that had any depth to come to is you. Because I've sat with Chief Larson, Kenny, McCormick, and they get so confused between the three of them. I know more about it. And they got vehicles confused, and I'm like looking like, oh my God. Yeah. And I told them from the very beginning, there was something wrong. Yeah. You need to look. And I said, I don't care. I don't care if somebody gives you drugs. Yeah. And I don't care if it's a prescription drug. You're not allowed to give that prescription to Cass. She ODs. You can be held accountable. Yeah. And I told that chief that. I said, I don't care if Mindy went up there and they shot her. I'm telling you right now, the only reason they hightailed it out of that loafing jug, because the car everything was thrown around. There was a knife open in the back seat, everything. There was too many weird things. The police should have went right there inside that car at loafing jug. Yeah. Everything's thrown around. There's a knife. My daughter's pocket knife is open in the back seat, which is out of her purse that's in the car up there. And I'm going, this is crazy. But yet these people leave, and I can tell you what they're doing. They're getting rid of every drug they have up there.
That's exactly what they're doing. And
they wanted to distance themselves from my daughter because they knew what was going to come up. And they tried to say her boyfriend gave her, and there's none of that. And they told the police that her boyfriend gave her Oxycontin and this and that. They were trying to throw it somewhere else. Exactly. She wasn't near her boyfriend because he hated those people, and he was down there. He was with me searching for her and stayed at our house till they found her body. He was just like blown away with it. But yet they hightailed it up there. They wouldn't come out of the basement. They got rid of every drug, everything to get rid of before the police came. And I know that in my heart. So I'm saying either it was mistakenly overdosed her. They could have told her, Mindy, to lose weight, how we stay thin or whatever. We smoke meth and you don't want to eat. Because she was depressed about her weight gain. She had lost her job. And if she was a meth head, we have all her jewelry, every piece of diamond ring, gold that she had since we gave her as a child all through the years was all in her house and no drug paraphernalia in her house and nothing sold.
Absolutely. Go share this with everyone you're talking about in chat right now. The more people that hear these tapes will wake somebody up. So all this chitter chatter and start this GoFundMe, start that GoFundMe, forget all that. Start sharing the crap out of these recordings and let people hear them. All that other stuff can be taken care of quickly. We have to wake some people up on this case. That's the only way that happens, is if you get out there and you wake them up. Make some noise.
Stereos, TVs, everything's there.
And didn't you say that she was supposed to start a new job the following week?
Her job came in with Progresso. The day they found her body, because she had to go through like the stages of interview, came in that they hired her on her computer. And she was depressed, and you don't eat right when you're not have the income anymore. And she got depressed, and she was eating because she really was a very shapely, thin girl. And then she gained like 75 pounds in the last year and a half, and that wouldn't be a method gaining.
No.
That's a depression thing.
That's a depression, you know. And I was like, this is just crazy. And I don't know. And, you know, I'm not saying my daughter's an angel. I'm sure she partied when she was young. She went to clubs and probably whatever that crap they used to, ecstasy or whatever they used to take in dance clubs or whatever in Orlando and stuff like that. I'm not saying she's an angel, but she was not a drug addict. And I can't imagine how old my daughter, that the 4-year-old. Can't imagine that in a million years. And then when I finally questioned her, after Mindy was dead, like a month, I had her in the car and she said something, Mommy was knocking on the door. And I said, she was. And I said, you saw her? She said, no. I said, well, how do you know that? She goes, that's what Kim said. So I think they even left enough time to drive my granddaughter around to say, this is what happened. Mommy jumped out and Shannon tried to chase her. It's just crazy. But the dog goes back to that house 10 times. So you don't know all that. So I believe my daughter was inside that house.
It's an abandoned house or something, right?
There's an abandoned house, and the dogs hit on that 10 times. And what I'm thinking is, because when he told me in front of the police that night, he gave me directions where Mindy jumped out. And so I followed him, and I even called them. And I'm going, now, do I make a right? Now, if he's chasing somebody, how would you know it's a brown house with a white carport and it's dark out, for God's sakes, and you're chasing somebody and it's 10 o'clock at night and you have this, it's just too well written to me. And so I can go right to that house and then the dogs next day, they hit on that house 10 times. So I don't know if they took her clothing from up there and dragged it around, my husband said. Or was it Mindy really up there? You don't know. I mean, everything's crazy. And you can see why I question this.
Oh, yeah, I definitely do.
Because I'm thinking, and then I told the police, they know somebody. Either it's the meth dealer where they get the meth from. And lo and behold, after I talked to them, their car was at another house in that neighborhood before they called the police. So there you go. And I'm not a detective, okay? But I'm saying there has to be some reason Kim and Shannon were in that neighborhood when they live in Forest, whatever, Sherwood Forest, up in Divide, and you're way down here. It doesn't make sense. And that's not on the way to the hospital.
There's clearly things missing.
And then my husband on Saturday, when Kyle, my nephew, and him were on Rampart Range Road, they had called Kim and Shannon on Saturday to go to the police department. Now, if you're coming up from Sherwood Forest, you're going to come down and turn on 67, go that way. My husband, they should not have been out on Rampart Range Road. And my husband, they spotted them there, and they all went, oh! And they looked at them, and they got in the car, and they went back to the police department, going this way. What were they doing? And that's why we're going, did they have her somewhere till then and then put her body there Sunday night? Because everybody knew that we were going to do that search on Wednesday. So I don't know. I mean, it's just so confusing. And I try to just hold myself together for answers. But as long I feel better after I talk to him.
I know on the TV report that Vida did, the News 13 Investigate thing, Bobby showed photos of bruises with open wounds and things like that. Was that from her or was that like scrapings on her legs?
Those are all the scrapings and stuff on her legs.
Okay. Because it looked bloody somewhat, and they obscured the photos a little bit.
Well, some of the photos may have been taken during the course of the autopsy.
Okay.
What it was.
Because that's what I thought. It's like,
I didn't see the news thing.
And you finally got to see all this. Well, no, you didn't get to see all the police.
No, when Bobby came, he brought them all.
Yeah, but the police never shared that with you.
No, the way it works is it's Dr. Burns' investigation and Clark County's investigation. All I am is a consultant that they pay to county. They pay El Paso County for my services.
Because they don't have one.
They don't have one to do it. And so I do the autopsy, and I make this report, and I tell them what I think. I don't run the investigation. I don't have any control over the investigation. I'm basically limited on what they bring to me. It's not like here where I can go to the sheriff's office and say, hey, what do we got? Or CSPD or whatever. Yeah. My guys are going out into the field to the scene and doing the investigation. I'm basically given one piece of paper that tells me what Dr. Burns' general impression was. When she went missing, when she was found, where she was found. Yeah. And that's really it. That's all I have. And that's
standard operating procedure.
And that's how it is all out of county.
Out of county. But see, like Bobby was telling me when he came back, he said it shouldn't be like, yes, a coroner can always tell a cause of death because that's what they do, what you do. He goes, but it's just helpful if the police also give him information.
Exactly.
And he said that's
totally
insane.
On what?
And he said, why should they make him play 64 questions, when they could give you some other background where you might have looked at things a little differently. And he said, this is what's so crazy. And yes, you can tell, of course, if it's a car accident, you know, it's a car accident, you know, but I'm just saying, but they still give you information from the police report.
And at the end of the day, my job is solely to determine the cause of death. And I've done that, and I feel very confident in that. And then also determine the manner of death, but the manner of death is dependent on the investigation. A hole in somebody's head that they've been shot can either be a suicide, they could have done themselves. Someone else could have shot them, or they could have theoretically accidentally shot them, or accidentally been shot. The autopsy is just a hole in the head. That's all I've got. Yeah. So a hole in the head is a hole in the head. Until they bring me the information to tell them. If someone dies in El Paso County, my guys, my investigators are the ones that are going to tell me that stuff. Yeah. But in cases where I'm dealing with out of county cases, I'm totally depending on Dr. Burn and their investigation. And the difference here is, did someone kill her? No, I don't think anyone murdered her. Do I think that probably there was some nefarious things that occurred and people are lying about the circumstances? Yes, I do think that. Mm-hmm. But that isn't my job. My job is to decide. There could have been laws broken and illegal activity occurring that's separate from someone being murdered. Yeah, and that's the police's job to investigate. And from what you're telling me, you're not satisfied with how they've done that. No. And I'm saying you only have the body, and you're going to do what you can with my daughter's body to see what. And we know that she died of hypothermia, and we know that the drugs had a cause, and it was a large amount. I don't think she would take, if you're not a regular meth user, I don't think you would ingest that high dose. If you're hanging out with meth heads and they're the ones that load the needle for you, then you might, because you have no idea what you're doing. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. And that's Bobby was saying, I never heard of a hot shot. And he said, she could have had a hot shot, and I'm going like, what? I guess it's a large. It's a large bowl. And I knew that she didn't smoke because she doesn't. I mean, I bought her sports car for her birthday. I'm not her mother allowed to get in the car and smoke, okay? You know, stuff like that. But that's just was Mindy. But I was just
when meth kills you, does it stop the heart?
It stops the heart.
Is that what it does?
It's very difficult on the heart. It causes the heart to beat faster and faster. All the while it constricts the blood supply, so the heart's working extra hard, but it's getting half the oxygen. And when the heart becomes starved of oxygen and blood, it becomes irritable like any electrical circuit. It's like shorts, and then the person dies. Essentially instantaneously.
Yeah, and I just don't think I'm completely crazy. And I will tell you, but it's really crazy. A week ago Sunday, ran into some psychic lady, but it's just really absurd. She knows so much stuff, and she told me, but then we're curious that she sees stuff on TV, but she told me that my daughter was dumped and she didn't die there where they found her. And you know what she told me? The people that did this, they thought she was dead when they left her, but she really wasn't. But she was like in that comatose state, and they wanted to distance. This is what the psychic distance themselves. This is what she said, and they thought the animals would take care of her, This is what I'm told.
Yeah.
She was on Rampart Range.
Yeah.
This is what this woman, and then they placed her there because that matched the story of whatever they told, and they placed her there. So I'm going, but some of it kind of fit. And then the only thing I said, did she suffer? And she told me no, because she didn't even know what was happening, and she was comatose. This is what.
So could they be comatose with their heart still beating, or?
No, usually with methamphetamines, the heart goes into arrhythmia. It can continue to beat for a while, but non-functionally, meaning the pump's not effectively pumping blood, so they can become unconscious. And for a period, the heart can continue to beat, but in a way that's not
Right.
So that is possible.
So that's what
But that was my speculation also, that she had been dumped somewhere, and then it would make sense maybe that then she was later moved right before the snow to where it would make sense.
Yeah, so we're,
And
and
that's
you
a
know, you're not
possibility.
that, but everybody said, but I thought, you know what, I really didn't believe, but this lady, it was crazy. And when she was missing, another psychic person told me that we would find her, and she was tall grass, and you said there's the things on her legs, and we would find her by water. And I said to my husband, see, she was wrong. She wasn't found by water. My husband said, what do you think those blue barrels are?
Yeah.
Water barrels. And so I was like, that is really crazy. And I'm not a type of person that believes in that stuff.
Yeah.
But then between that and then this woman telling me they thought she was dead. That's why. And they were scared. And the man, this is how detailed. The man told the woman, we've got to do this or we're going to end up in jail too.
But that was my speculation too, that it was an overdose that went bad and they had to get rid of the evidence.
So, but I appreciate you taking your time, because, I mean, you are the pathologist, and I just actually block out what these people up there tell me, okay?
That's what it is.
I block out what the police tell me, and even Dr. Burns, God love him, but he had been to our house, and he was bringing me your report that he did. He was bringing it, and he said he'd be there a certain time, and I see some man like down at the end of the street knocking on a house and going to the next house. And I looked outside and I'm going, so I yell, I go, Dr. Burns, is that you?
Yeah.
And then it's like this. I thought, my God, he was at our house. My husband had identified my dog from the picture.
Yeah.
And he was so confused. I'm going, oh my God. And so I told Bobby, I said, he goes, Bobby said, no, he's an elected official. A real coroner did it.
He was a very nice man. And,
But he was
and
nice.
that night I was there when the coroner came. And but we told him a lot of information and things to look for, like what meds she was on, and that we suspected meth because of the nature of those people, and to look for that. And then you went into the whole history of the cancer, and then I remember Jay mentioning about that she had implants, and so we gave him a tremendous amount of information, including the cyst.
Yeah, and we
So
said,
he had
I thought, well, maybe that made her be that's the cyst, but it didn't, because
Usually those cysts can be, in life, they can be very small and cause lots of problems, nausea and headaches and all.
very, very sick.
But then after death, a lot of times they'll collapse and they'll basically I won't be able to see them. So
Yeah.
You know what? I remember you telling me that her Wellbutrin had just been increased, and her doctor had warned her that she might experience some
But he said it
dizziness.
wasn't a high amount.
No,
But I mean, I was curious if that could have made her out of it enough to where they could have injected her with a minimal amount of struggle. That could have happened. If she was loopy from the Wellbutrin thing, would that have been possible? I don't know what the loopiness of Wellbutrin
But she wasn't acting like she was out of it, and she was very sick from a high fever. That's what she was telling me.
Oh, because she was supposedly had laryngitis. Yes.
And very sick with a high fever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only thing that bothered me a little bit too, is that I thought I had a venipuncture in, but then the hoarseness, and that's a common complaint of someone who doesn't smoke and doesn't use a lot of drugs. When they smoke methamphetamines or any crack cocaine, the hot gases that you inhale can cause acute episodes of hoarseness. And that's why I was like, well, maybe she smoked it and got hoarse, and then that just freaked her out. And, that doesn't.
Could you inhale that much? Just
But I think maybe, are you saying that it's possible that maybe?
If you're just joining, this recording is about an hour long total. Where I guess, and this was the first time I've listened to it through, that's the pathologist that is contracted from El Paso County to Teller County. So, but the way he tells the story is that he was just given one piece of paper and then was showed pictures from Bobby Brown. So crazy stuff, the way that he has speculated, said some things. It's a good recording. It's a very, very good recording. Good job, Viki. This was taken over 9 years ago.
The night before she had done a little bit, and then maybe they did more, got hoarse, and then maybe did more the next day or something.
I don't know, maybe we'll never know.
Because maybe it wasn't just a one shot kind of a thing that maybe you could do if she had been hoarse from smoking.
We had all been sick. I had been sick. Okay. I had been sick. And on Thanksgiving Day, she told me she wasn't feeling it. Thanksgiving morning, she told me her throat hurt. Thanksgiving morning. Okay. So she wasn't going to have come to dinner. And then I made her a dinner to go Thursday from the kids. And she called me back. She goes, "Oh, Mom, the deviled eggs, because their stuff tastes so good for my throat." And see, I'd been sick. Jay had been sick. We had all been sick with like a flu sore throat. And so that's what Kim said that she had. And so I believed it because of Thursday morning.
Oh, yeah.
She wasn't feeling good. And she said, she has laryngitis. That's why she can't talk. When she was going, and then Kim took the phone. And she goes, "I'm going to take her to the hospital." I said, "Okay, you call me and I'll come and pick her up, her and Aspen, and take her home." I could have killed myself. I should have went right away. But
that's part of the grieving. The what if I had done? I know, sweetie. It's normal to feel that way.
Yeah. But sometimes you can't stop what's supposed to happen, I guess. And as long as she didn't suffer, if I want to believe that psychic, but she didn't suffer because she didn't know.
Yeah. I mean, I have certainly had a reason at our house for that to be true. I have supporting evidence for that. So.
Well, that's good.
That's good.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I came to see you and that you took the time.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you very much.
A whole lot of what I do that has a happy ending.
No.
You have a difficult job.
Have you been here a long time?
It's 2008. It's been a while.
Yeah, because my nephew, he was only 18. He was in a car accident here on 30th Street. And so it's like, accidents come through here. Yeah. But like his report was humongous. Do you know what I mean?
No, those are because there's a lot of injuries.
Yeah, and there were two people. And he was a passenger, so was his friend. And
it's nice to know that she wasn't as badly beat up as we had heard or thought.
When you read the report, it sounds like, oh my God, it's thing after thing after thing. But I'm describing every detail. I mean, if I look at the two of you, I could probably find a half dozen more stuff.
Right. So
if they go on paper in black and white, it looks
compared to an auto accident, this is nothing.
This is nothing. This is minimal stuff you would get. The images I had were consistent with the story.
But I don't think she ran that far as Shannon and Kim was. She didn't have calloused feet, really. And my argument, knowing her, was she had little baby virgin feet. She's always running around in those big stilettos and big platform shoes. And
that one little mark is where she had a little callus. And the Puma thing?
Yeah.
They did the Puma, and then that little razor that you get like
Shave it off,
to
yeah.
shave it off.
Yeah.
And her boyfriend said she had just done that and goes, and I'll even tell you the exact spot that should be at. And that was true. And that's when I went up there. I said, I will get somebody that weighs Mindy's amount.
Yeah.
I will look at their feet to see if it's like her feet. And I'm going to have her run where they said she ran
on frozen ground.
But it wasn't snow yet, okay?
Yeah, but it was still frozen.
It was cold out. It was 18 degrees that night. But there isn't an inch without branches, logs, rocks. She would have had indentations on her feet and more damage than that. I can't believe she ran from where they said she did to that football field. That's 2,400 feet. They measured it or something. There's no way her feet.
My feet would have been bloody.
They would have had more than a few little scratches. So we don't believe that part. And if the police want to believe it, that's fine. And that she hopped up there. I believe it was. And I think, well,
There's
the one
some-
that found it. And you know what he said to me? When we were all up
He's walking out. You've been listening to Dad with the Phone. These are the first time these tapes have been recorded, are released to the public. Viki held on to these recordings about 9 years. We're coming up on 10 years this year. The Mindy Lee case happened in Teller County, Woodland Park, Colorado. Mindy Lee went missing the day after Thanksgiving, was found December 1st, frozen in the football fields. You're listening to tapes that were recorded just weeks and months after this. You're hearing how the investigation went. You're hearing who was involved. Please share, spread, cut these up. I don't even care. We need to get this case reopened. Thanks for listening. You can find me at all the links below. We'll finish it out with As They Walk Out, so you can say you listened to the whole thing right here on Dad with a Phone.
Bobby and Betta, they were doing that thing. He came up to me, and he's a resource officer.
Mm-hmm.
And it gave me the creeps. He came up, I'm sitting there, Jay's stuff, and he comes up and he rubs my hand and he says, you know, I don't know about your daughter. I said, I know who you are.
Yeah.
I talked to you before. When you were supposed to go make an announcement, you never did, to look for my daughter's phone. And he said, your daughter had a really severe drug problem. I said, really? You could tell just by finding her? The way she was laying, you could tell that. And he said, well, the amount of drugs I found on her. And I said, oh, really? You know, what drugs were those? I don't see anything in a police report where you
finding drugs.
About you finding drugs and putting them into evidence.
Yeah, exactly.
And your report on page 26 is like this big. You did a grid search. The grid search started here, obviously. I'm going, this is crazy. And so I wrote the chief of police a letter recently, unless he's the one that pulled the bag out of her vagina. How would he know that? There was nothing on her.
If
and
there were drugs that there's missing now, and he hasn't. So
then he has them.
Then he should be going to jail.
And so I wrote a letter to the police. I said, well, there were drugs on her. Where are they? I just wrote a certified letter a couple weeks ago to the chief. But I thought, isn't that weird for some cop to come up and run on I couldn't have to put some shooters and they can't think that's insane.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You need anything else?
Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. Bye-bye. Okay.